Good morning, everyone. Renee Hasseltine here, CEO and founder of ThinkWrapped. I'm joined by the fabulous Linda Garnett from Stellar Partnerships. Welcome, Linda. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Great to be with you, Renee.
Linda and I were just joking that given that it's lockdown 4.0 here in Melbourne, we don't know what day it is, but it is officially Monday. Just in case you've lost track, we're here to give you the morning update. Welcome to Monday, Melbourne peeps. So Linda, let's start off. Can you tell us a little bit about Stellar Partnerships? What is it that you do? What is your business?
Sure. So Stellar Partnerships is a business that works specifically with nonprofits and with corporates to create awesome partnerships that change the world. So it's really working both sides, working with corporates who are looking for charity or community partners, and it's working to support nonprofits who'd really love to partner with corporates, and not just for fundraising purposes, but just to create really awesome partnerships that really advance their mission. So it's a wonderful business that allows me to see right across the nonprofit sector and deep into corporate land as well, and create some things that really drive social impact.
Yes, fantastic. And I've had the privilege of working with you. So I've seen under the hood and behind the scenes about the fabulous, important work that you do. So the theme of this interview series is all about visual models to celebrate the launch of my brand new book. Oh, hold on, I'll get you one here's one I prepared earlier. So this is all about the power of visual models. So tell us a little bit about how you use visual models in your business.
We use visual models to communicate basically what is quite a complicated prospect, and what is also a very tailored prospect. So the situation let's talk about sort of the nonprofit clients we work with. Situation for nonprofits is different for everyone. We get some organizations that are really small, grassroots, and just starting out and thinking about their first corporate partnership as they expand. We've got some medium-sized ones that have been at it a while, but maybe have got stuck, maybe sort of things have plateaued, don't know where to go to next. And then we've got some really mature ones who've really kicking butt, doing some great stuff, but wondering, how do I take this from good to great? How do I amplify the great work that I'm doing? So it can be a little bit complex. And I think when we first spoke, Renee, our heads were spinning about, how do I tell this story? How do I tell this story in a really succinct way? Because it could be slightly different for everyone. And I think we were tripping over ourselves trying to make it way too complex. And then, overworking stuff. Every proposal was different. It was all tweaked, and it was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. So we spun our wheels. We wasted a lot of time before we actually got visual. So who would have thought?
Magic. So where are you? So you're using the visual models now, then I'm hearing in your proposals, is that right?
We're using them in the proposals also, and we're using them to really have more in-depth conversations as well. So I might share one of the models that...
Yeah, go ahead, bring it up.
A lot, if you don't mind.
Please do. Here's some we prepared earlier.
Let's see if I can do this. Okay, this is one of my favorites, because not only do we use it in proposals and documents, but we talk it through, and we use it as a way of unpacking the value and unpacking the situation for nonprofits, because quite often when they talk to us, they don't really know what's wrong. They just know it's not working, and they need another set of eyes around, why am I stuck? Why is this not going anywhere? And we talk about this not as much as our spectrum, but a way of breaking out of where they're at the moment. So the way this model works is it starts in the middle. It starts with potential. So every nonprofit has the potential of having an awesome partnership with a corporate, a business of whatever size. And often they're having some informal conversations. They've got relationships, maybe with one person on the corporate side, and they're wondering, where could this go? How exciting could this be? What could we do together? Now, the direction you go in really depends on how strategic and how systematic you're going to be. So what we see a lot with organizations that are stuck is they've gone left. They've gone into that frustration. They don't really know what's going on. Last year in lockdown, we saw a lot of corporate teams turn over. So some were made redundant, some were downscaled, rescheduled, But often for the non-profit, it was really frustrating because their key contact left or moved on. So they were kind of like, oh, well, where's this relationship going? You know, all the effort I've put into it, and then it fell over. And we had one wonderful organization who just got really unlucky last year. Their three main clients were an airline, a hotel chain, and a shopping center.
Oh, wow.
All three at once. How unlucky can you get? But also, they only had one point-to-point contact. So it was really easy. There wasn't an organization to organization relationship. So it was easy for that to fall over. And then what happens is it falls into that failure or burnout. So the staff are exhausted, they're overstretched, they're trying really hard. And then at some point in time, they go, you know what? This is too hard. I think I can go and take my suitcases and go and move somewhere else, or I can try in another organization. I just don't know why it's working. And we call that the cycle of frustration, because then the organization hires new people, goes, let's give them a big KPI, off you go. And they kind of get stuck in this cycle, and they never really break out of it. And that's often when we meet them and we try and say, this is the way forward. If you go this way down the spectrum, you can make progress. You can be more strategic about it, more systematic. You can build an organization to organization relationship with your partner, so that if one person leaves, the whole thing doesn't fall over.
Yeah. And that had been great pre-lockdown and COVID last year.
Exactly. So much changeover, so much unexpected change. But if your organizations are really aligned, rather than just, I have a really great relationship with Renee, and therefore that's why the relationship works, which is a pretty risky premise, to be honest, to put all your eggs in one basket. And then at the end of it, to get to really, truly stellar partnerships, you're really integrated, and both organizations couldn't leave the partnership even if they wanted to, because they do so many things together. They know each other so well. They're creating new things together. And that's what we call a really, truly stellar partnerships. And so this model has been fantastic, just to unpack where everyone's at, ask people to identify, where do you think you're at? How does it feel for you? And then it's much easier for us to then talk about, here's some solutions for you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Linda. That was just the perfect example of a results model. So this model is designed, for someone like Linda to be able to show clients this is a results spectrum, as we would call it. So, and as Linda talks through it, if you're a non-for-profit and you're trying to establish corporate relationships, you're going to be then self-identifying and working out, well, where am I on this spectrum and where do I want to be? And there's going to be a gap identified between the results you're getting and the results that you want. And so that's the power of a results model. And you just did a brilliant example of talking through that, Linda. So just fabulous. Great to see. And so are you also using this? So I know that you're saying you're using them in proposals. Are you also using this if you do a presentation to a client? Is that being used in that way as well?
We do use this as a PowerPoint as well. And sometimes we actually just do it as a build. So we might be having just a face-to-face conversation back in the days when you could have a face-to-face conversation, and just unpacking each part of it. So it could be just a slide for an informal conversation. It could be a PowerPoint deck for a group as well. And given that everyone's working so much online and our client base has expanded, so it's across Australia and we can't see them face to face at the moment, the PowerPoint version has been extremely useful because it allows us to do the same, but when we're not actually in their boardroom because we're either stuck in Melbourne or behind closed doors somewhere around closed barriers, it's been extremely useful and very flexible for us to use in different ways.
Yeah, brilliant. And have you, I'm not sure if you've done this yet, but have you been running webinars or any sort of educational piece as well?
We have been doing webinars all the way through the COVID lockdown, the COVID year, and actually we've amped up what we do with webinars as well. So we've been using this in our webinars. We do bus scouts for our clients, which are sort of free, accessible webinars for them to be able to come and learn and share, ask questions as a way of being of service to our community, especially during these really tricky times. So it's extremely flexible for use during webinars as well, to be able to unpack that. So that and a couple of the other models that we've been using have been absolutely ace for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about the way these models can be used, because you get to use them to add value to your audience, as you're saying, to, you know, give back to the community, to educate. I think that's what, you know, for me, I think one of the drivers behind me creating this stuff was I didn't want to be like a salesy person. I want to educate and I want to add value and help people. And so I think having these models gives you a structure for talking through, is like you've so beautifully done. It shows that you can be educating your audience, potentially, you know, sharing this value with them. And then if they choose to work with you because they then see you as the authority and the credible leader in this space because you are the creator of this IP, then, you know, they're going to be attracted to work with you because you are the educator and the person who shared all this beautiful knowledge. So yeah, I think that you've just really demonstrated that beautifully this morning, Linda.
And the thing for your audience to think about is that, you know, whatever they're selling, whatever services or product or business they're selling, no one is going to buy from you unless they know that you understand their problems, probably better than they do. So this is a wonderful mechanism for you to be able to demonstrate that, to invite them into a conversation, to share that knowledge, tease them along the way a little bit, but actually just build that rapport of like, I do understand your problem. I understand where you're at. I understand these are the different options, and then give them a bit of a glimmer of hope about why they should be working with you. Because once they get the fact that you understand them, your sales process is going to be so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on that, actually, I'm curious to hear, we haven't talked about this yet, so this may backfire. No, I'm curious to hear though, since you've started using these models, have you noticed a difference in your sales process?
Yes, it has. And actually what I might share with you is another slide that we've used that has really changed the way that we've structured our sales process. So let me just share this with you.
So this is a process model for those watching from home.
This is a process model because when we first had that conversation and we were sort of tearing our hair out, going, how do we describe all these the complexity and all the options that we do? This process has been an absolute godsend to be able to shape our sales, because not only does it succinctly say, here's the process from go to woe of how we will work with you and the different steps. And there may be sort of some modifications depending on where the organization is at. But what it really enabled us to do in a really difficult COVID year was switch from our previous process, which was very face-to-face, lots of in-person workshops. We just turned it around literally in about 2 weeks and made it an online process.
Fantastic.
We created an online learning module for this. And that enabled us, when you talked about sort of driving sales, it just gave us an entirely different sales stream.
That's fantastic. Whole new revenue stream. And does that cover all 7 steps in the process?
Yes, it does. So it's for anyone who wants to learn about partnerships and is starting out, we give them the whole 7 process. And we had so much fun with it that by halfway through the year, we were like, okay, we've done one, let's create another one. So what we did was we actually took one little snippet around nurturing relationships, around sales skills, and did a really deep dive just in that particular segment. So it enables us not just to do the whole system, which we call our acceleration system, but actually pick off individual pieces, do a deep dive, and actually sell them and create a different product from those. So we've got endless possibilities because we've got 7 steps.
Yes.
And we created a really tactical, sort of very hands-on 3-step module within that for people that were just really interested in those sales skills. What do I say to a corporate partner? How do I get a meeting? What do I say at the first meeting? Those type of things, which was a subset of the main model. But it gave us so much confidence having done the first one and switched it all to online training that we were picking them off and actually starting to create new modules as well. And below that, there's a whole raft of others that are ready to go off the cab rank.
I love that. I love that. And this kind of reminds me as well, because I remember before we worked together, one of the challenges that you were saying was that those charities with the lower budgets were trying to kind of like, oh, I can't afford your whole solution. So can you just like give me a contact list? Can you just give me like this tiny little piece of the puzzle? How has that sort of changed now, having this process model?
The wonderful thing is that we can do this system in 2 ways. We can do it as a bespoke one-to-one.
Yep.
Which is a really deep dive into your nonprofit organizations and walk the journey alongside with you. Or we can do this as an online training course, which says, we can give you all the tools and tips and templates and show you how to do it yourself. And it's a much more affordable price point because it's an online version. And so we run this, at least 2 to 3 times a year. And so for those small organizations that are really the grassroots ones that are still just starting out and don't have a lot of budget, it's accessible. So we're really thrilled that we're able to bring these solutions to a wider audience that possibly couldn't have accessed them previously. And one of our most recent participants was a tiny 2-person organization. They've only got 1 paid staff member, and they won their first corporate partner.
Oh, fantastic.
This year. So we're absolutely thrilled for them. They do some wonderful work, but they're really tiny. So if you can do it with a 2-person organization, think what you can do with a bigger one.
That's such a great win, Linda. I love that. I love that so much, because I know, many of us working in the consulting kind of space, we're often challenged we kind of get into this work because we're change makers. We care about people. We want to make a difference. And then, our full solution is a complex thing. And so that can be, expensive for those smaller organizations. You say the grassroots organizations don't have the budget for all your fabulous, hands-on expertise. And so, if they try and buy a tiny little piece of the puzzle, it gives you this kind of ethical dilemma. I mean, this is how I feel about it anyway, is that it's like, well, I can sell you that tiny little bit, but I know in my heart, without the whole process, it's not going to do enough. Like on its own, it's not the same. You need the whole thing, or it just doesn't kind of fit. I love that you've kind of now been able to create an affordable solution for those smaller grassroots charities, which means that you can ethically say, here's the whole thing. You're not missing out on anything by getting this lower price point. You just don't have my hands-on attention, but you do have, this is the DIY version of the whole process that we do with our premium clients.
And you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time as well, so that you've still got your core process. And then as like, for example, we will do the online course and we'll improve it every time. We'll tweak it, we'll add something, we'll go, okay, this is the latest piece of research or some latest thinking, we'll add to it and enhance it. And that feeds into the more bespoke one-to-one big consulting packages as well. So every time we do this, it gets better and better, and our learning deepens, and we're able to share more with our audience. And so out of this process, once we're doing the process, whether it's one-on-one or one-to-many, then out of this comes a whole bunch of ideas and blogs and things for webinars that we can share with our audience. So it just deepens the community knowledge as well, because we're able to share it. And our mission really is to inspire the nonprofit industry to do more corporate partnerships, and for corporates to actually think more strategically about the potential with the nonprofit industry as well, so that they don't do where they're typically going, I would like a community partner. Who do I know? I know, we'll ring around. Who does the board know? Get half a dozen names in their personal Rolodex and we'll call them. So it enables them to do it in a more strategic way as well. So, if we can get more people included in thinking about partnerships with the corporate sector, how much more effective could your cause, could your mission be? And that's really what we're all about.
I love that. That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for sharing your use of visual models this morning, Linda. It was really, really great to have that insight and to see some really practical interpretations and the way that you're using it in your business every day, and how that's also, it's great to see that it was also helping you through COVID and lockdown, last year, and lockdown 4.0 again. But, so many people have had to shift online, and the fact that you were able to make that transition in 2 weeks and have that online training ready to go is just brilliant. That's fabulous.
It was for anyone who's thinking about this, just get visual, really get visual, because also if you are doing more stuff online, if you're doing more stuff on Zoom, you've got to be visual as well. So this is an absolute godsend. This is how you do it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much. And if people want to find out more about who you are and what you do, where should they go?
Go ahead and look at our website, look at our free resources on stellarpartnerships.com.
Fantastic. Thank you, Linda.